Welcome back. You're watching Mad About Markets, and today we're talking about the opportunity in the sauces and condiment space. More specifically, sauces and not ketchup alone, because ketchup, that seems like a product for the older generation, right? So the penetration for ketchup, as per Mintel, is the highest for those that are between the age of 45 to 54 years old. It is the young who we focus on here at Mad About Markets who are having other sauces and not just ketchup. It is also a space which has seen sporadic but significant deal activity in the last few years. So in December of 2008, you had Dr. Oetker buying Fun Foods for 110 crores. Now you cut to June 2016 and you had Cremica raising 101 crores from Rabo Equity Advisors. 3 years later, in October of 2019, you had Viva raising $14 million in Series D funding from DSG Consumer Partners. And post-pandemic, in November 2021, you saw Wingreens raising 124 crores from Investcorp. And the most recent deal, that was in August of this year itself, where Nagin raised about $1 million from Abhishek Bachchan, HNIs, and other investors. Since we have Nagin here, how easy or hard has it become to raise money from investors for the industry, especially given the macroeconomic environment that we are in, where money is not really easy or cheap anymore?
So it's a good time to be a founder, I would say. There's a lot of dry capital, powder with VCs lying there right now to build businesses. However, they're very particular about the type of businesses they invest in. So you have to have a good founding team, solid unit economics on your product, and a good path to profitability. But if anyone sort of checks that boxes and is willing to do the work, it's a fantastic ecosystem now in the startup space in India, and I think anyone with a good business and a vision can make that reality come true.
And that brings us to what are the triggers working for the sauces industry, that yays and mays as we usually talk about. It's my time for the yays, as always. The biggest one is globalization. Everyone's traveled and everyone wants global flavors on their plates here itself. And people are willing to experiment as well. And the biggest example of that was when people wanted to look for newer flavors during the pandemic itself. The third one, sauces are now a growing preference for people, primarily because they want to buy it from other brands which are available in the market, as against making pickles, chutneys, etc. at home itself. Availability via D2C and modern trade channels have been a big driver for growth as well. You can get whatever sauce you want at the click of a button on your phone itself. And new local niches. Me sitting here in Mumbai can get access to Ujjalokia sauce from the northeast of the country, thanks to players like Nagin and others who are there in the markets, which are making people aware of newer local niches, and they are catering to those niches. So there are a fair amount of triggers for growth, Ritu.
There are, but let me flip the tables, all right? Because this is a very competitive industry. You know, you have newer players entering by the day, and like he said, there is dry powder for those with good business sense. So that is a competitive space. The need for distribution beyond D2C. A lot of new players, especially that came up during the pandemic, have utilized the D2C channel. But then to achieve scale, you have to look beyond as well. The lack of scale in niches, because every few kilometers in India, the taste and preferences change in-house. So that is another challenge for them to contend with. Then consumers also prefer local brands, because this remains a highly unorganized market. You still go to your Kirana stores or your mother's making your pickles. You don't really necessarily always buy them outside. And then, of course, you have the health factor, which is influencing sauce purchases. I, for instance, would not want to buy mayonnaise. Maybe I'd use newer dips and hung curds. So all of these are challenges that companies have to contend with.
And that brings us to the bigger question then. Is it time for other sauces to catch up with ketchup? Viraj, go ahead.
Other sauces have to catch up with ketchup. I think mayonnaise will be the first product to catch up with ketchup. And also, in terms of value, you have to understand it will catch up with ketchup in value much before volume. Mayonnaise is much more expensive than ketchup, so it will it'll get to ketchup before in value before it gets to ketchup in volume. And then I think the other trend that we're seeing rapidly is chili sauces. Chili sauces, like our stable of chili sauces. Bhoot Chulakia chili sauce, Sriracha, Piri Piri. That is the next big category that we're seeing out of nowhere, Mangalam. I mean, frankly, 2.5 years back, it was a non-category. Only the typical Chinese green chili and red chili sauce are categories. But now, chili sauce itself has become a humongous category. So I would say that is the next category to, kind of it'll catch up with ketchup after mayonnaise. So the two big categories for me to look out for in the sauce space is mayonnaise and the chili sauces.
All right, so ketchup and chili sauces, those seem to be the dominant categories, but given the opportunities and the challenges we spoke about, what do you see as the growth potential? Can sauces actually catch up to the ketchup market in India?
I think it can, given that people are very aware about the ingredients they eat now. So ketchup, as I said, was cornstarch, fructose, and people are moving away from that in general. And also given that there are several industries that are growing parallel to hot sauce. So you look at craft beer, for example, which is also sort of blooming in a big way in India. Beer and hot sauce are a marriage sort of made in heaven. And also ready-to-eat food, which is like, especially you see the rise of ready-to-eat idli and dosa, but it's hard to make a chutney at home. But it's easy to have it with a really good hot sauce.
But the question
I think he's given us a hint about what he's coming up with next, right?
No, I
or
wish.
beer. I don't know. Anyway, but he said that he's seeing, Viraj said that he's seeing a massive trend in the growth of chili as well as mayonnaise. Can we expect a Nagin flavored mayonnaise come by?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been working, people already are pairing our products with mayonnaise very well because it sort of tempers the heat. So, yeah, absolutely.
But are you getting like co-branding opportunities, etc.?
Yes, we've co-branded with a cheese company. There's a Nagin flavored vegan cheese in the market. We've co-branded with a company called Wonder Foods recently, which makes a toom, which is Nagin. It's called toom, yeah. Middle Eastern dip, which we've sort of lended our flavor to, and many more in the pipeline that we're sort of working on.
So how big can you be?
It can be huge. There's no sky's the limit
In the size of the
because
ketchup industry?
that's about 1,800 crores in India, give or take.
Give or take about 2,000. And sauces could, in the next 5 years, say?
I would say we could be halfway there.
Mikhail, thank you so much for joining in and giving us a sneak peek into what you're going to do. But importantly, whetting our appetite for some chips and dip right away with the hot Nagin sauce that you're talking about.
Dip into some hot sauce.
All right, let's do that. On that note, we wrap up.
We'll catch a break, but we'll see you next time, same time.